Let's talk about Five Nights at Freddy's 2. This is the sequel to the very successful Five Nights at Freddy that came out in 2023. And of course, we know the whole situation there. They decided to release it the same day on Peacock, so the movie couldn't really go to its full potential, right? Nonetheless, Five Nights at Freddy's 2 is looking to potentially make up all of those losses they had and make sure that we go for that third film. Because yes, indeed, we are going for number 3 after the finale here. So of course, if you're here, you've watched the movie, or you just don't care to watch it and you want spoilers, hey, totally fine by me. Keep watching, keep subscribing, keep commenting. Trying to get to that 50k subscriber goal right now before the end of the year. That's a huge goal of mine. But let's talk about the finale of Five Nights at Freddy's and hit that subscribe button, or else you're gonna be seeing Balloon Boy somewhere. But anyways, this movie starts off in 1982, where we get the lore for Marionette, or the puppet. We basically find out that a young girl named Charlotte was here at the original Fazbear's, and we see William Afton here as well in his Springtrap costume and everything, or should we say Springtime Bonnie at this point. And we realize that at this moment in time, Mr. Afton is very active killing children. One thing we have to know about Charlotte is that she is very attached to the puppet Marionette, a little animatronic that comes out and controls all of the other animatronics here, which of course include Freddy, Bonnie, Chica, and Foxy. And this is only in this restaurant here. It doesn't work in all of the other ones or the franchises. So this was ahead of its time because the Marionette's able to control them through wireless technology. Well, what happens is that Charlotte is waiting for the animatronic to come out because she doesn't feel close to anybody else here. But Vanessa, as a young girl, is here and is trying to get Charlotte to come with her and sort of make friends with everybody else. And she doesn't do this because then she sees a young boy being lured by William Afton in the Springtime Bonnie suit, and she decides to go and investigate what's going on. None of the other adults or parents care when she's telling them what just happened, and we see that Charlotte meets a grisly fate as she saves this boy because Afton kills her, and we see that she then goes into the trapdoor where the Marionette is, as the Marionette is holding her and lifts up in a very ominous opening. Honestly, this was one of the dopest things in the whole movie because this was so dark and so scary and menacing. I thought they did an exceptional job with it. We go forward 20 years later after the events of the first film, where we see now that Vanessa, Mike, and Abby are trying to live a normal life, or as normal as it can be, right? And Vanessa is still dealing with the guilt of what happened with her father and trying to overcome all of this trauma that she has, and it's not working. Mike is trying to move forward with Abby, and Abby also isn't able to make it out of the past or what happened at Fazbear's. She still feels that her friends are there, which of course are the kids inside the animatronics. Even though Mike says they're broken and there's no way for them to come back, she decides to ultimately go and find them, but of course they're not there. When her and Mike go back to Fazbear, she does find a little Fazbear talk toy that she takes back, where she hopes that she can be able to speak to her long lost friends. It doesn't seem to work either, and we see that she's just having a rough time at school as well. She has a asshole of a teacher. I will tell you, this teacher went above and beyond to be an asshole, and I was so like, okay, this is getting out of hand at some point, because he goes and tells Abby, don't join the science fair because you're gonna lose and make us look bad. Just get out of my face, basically is what he's saying. And everybody in the theater was pissed off at this guy because they were just waiting for him to get his, and I promise you, he gets his. We then get a bit of McKenna Grace's character, and she's like a paranormal investigator. They have like a YouTube channel or a TV show. I think it would be a TV show here because I don't think YouTube's invented at this moment in time. I think we're like in 2002 or 2003, right? So of course it's like a TV show, and they go investigate these weird places. They decide to go to the original Fazbear's that we saw in the 1982 opening, and they want to investigate what's going on here after they got a tip from somebody called Mike, which is not the Mike we know. This is another Mike here, which is going to be a very crucial character for the ending. Just hold on. But what happens is we see the group get picked apart by Marionette, who is the animatronic that's come to life and controls everything in this Fazbear's location, and the guy is working with her. The guy's working with Marionette, or Charlotte, who is inhabiting this animatronic here, and it seems that her music box has been broken. Now, Marionette the puppet needs this music box in order to keep her asleep. So we end up seeing this group of Scooby-Doo investigators get killed, and they are starting to really push the PG-13 rating here because it gets a bit gruesome and kind of scary, I will tell you this. We see that in this new Fazbear location, there are also new animatronics, which are dubbed the toy animatronics because they're shiny and metallic, and they look very different from the animatronics from the first film, and this is the same thing with the games as well. Abby is eventually lured here by Marionette, or Charlotte, who sort of makes herself come off as the original Fazbear animatronics that Abby is known to have become friends with in the first movie, because she wants to lure her here in order for her to get a perimeter code that's going to unbind them from here. Because right now, all of the animatronics, including Marionette, are just binded to this Fazbear location because of a perimeter code that Vanessa had set in place. Vanessa realizes what's going on here and decides to go to the original Fazbear location to confront Charlotte about this after she heard from Abby about there being a friend that was helping her with her science fair project, which was of course Chica, she says. But it was so interesting for Vanessa to hear that it was at the original Fazbear location where of course those kids weren't. So this is somebody else's doing, and she knows it's Charlotte because Vanessa and Charlotte were friends in the past, and she realized that Charlotte's spirit had lingered here. And Vanessa tried to help her as much as she could and realized that her friend was suffering, so that's why the music box was put in place, so that she could just sleep and potentially just move forward with life. But of course you can't just bury things and expect them to be buried and never come back up, because they indeed will simmer up. So bottling your emotions, bottling your dead friends to a animatronic at a Fazbear location that has been abandoned for over 2 decades, yeah, that thing's gonna come back up at some point, which I thought was great to see with the themes of the film and all of that. But we see, of course, that we have Charlotte now threatening Vanessa with killing Abby if she doesn't give her the perimeter code. So Vanessa obliges and gives the perimeter code, and we see as Abby's able to set free the animatronics onto the world. And Charlotte's plan here is to just kill every single parent out there for what happened to her. It doesn't matter if your parents weren't there. It doesn't matter if your parents were kids at the time. They're parents now, so she's gonna kill them. Any parents. Very, very interesting plan, I will say. So we eventually see that Abby goes out with the animatronics, unbeknownst to Abby at this point that all of these animatronics she's seeing are just being controlled by Charlotte, the marionette, and not really her friends from the first film. However, she lets them loose, and we see the teacher that was an asshole get his and get killed right there in the school. And it was one of the more bloody, violent deaths here that really pushed that PG-13 to its limits. I think the people at the rating place were like, "Oh yeah, this is getting dangerously close, my friends." However, we see that Mike and Vanessa are able to put a stop to all of this by disarming the wireless control that Marionette has, as Mike's able to do this in a lot of callbacks to the second game, which I thought were so cool. The callbacks here are always the dopest things about the film, and I really did enjoy seeing them. But we see somebody else is able to turn this back on, and also we find out that inside the toy Chica was actually Marionette, and this is where she decides to attack Abby and seemingly possess her, just as she did to McKenna Grace's character earlier in the film. Now, the fight ensues between Vanessa and this marionette possessed Abby. Mike's able to come through and save the day with his friend. However, we see that the other animatronics are back and kicking, and they are about to close in on Vanessa, Mike, and Abby and kill them. But we eventually see that the other animatronics from the first film come in, save the day, kill the animatronics, the toy ones, and are pretty much like, yeah, that took everything out of us. Now, the other animatronics came through because Mike had gone to ask for help at the old Fazbear location from the first film and just wanted them to save his sister. And of course, they had this bond and they were going to come save Abby. But now that they've gone out of the perimeter and used their animatronic powers, this seemingly just kills them now. And now they're dead, so they are going to be free. But they also tell Mike that now that we're free and gone from that location, we can hold William Afton back. Springtrap is coming back, and we see that in the final shots. We find out that the person that had turned on the animatronics being controlled through the Wi-Fi now was actually Michael Afton, who is Vanessa's brother, who has come back to avenge their father for what happened to him in the first film and wants Vanessa to join him. But it seems that Vanessa is trying to move forward with her life as Michael escapes, leading the animatronics to kill Mike, Abby, and Vanessa. But Mike's friends able to come through and get Afton down, but I don't think for too long. I think we definitely will see more of Michael Afton in the next film. Now that the animatronics are all dead and also that Marionette seems to be gone, we see that Mike and Abby decide to move forward with their lives, abandoning Vanessa and leaving her here in the darkness, where Marionette eventually captures her and possesses her at the end of the film, setting up, of course, the third film, Five Nights at Freddy's 3, where we're gonna have Springtrap as our main antagonist. At the end of the film, we do see that Springtrap is being brought back to life. We see that they are already setting up the haunted horror house that's going to be the main event for Five Nights at Freddy 3. And it's going to get a lot darker real quick. I really did enjoy these scenes with William Afton that were scattered throughout here. Even though he was more of a ghost and a memory for Vanessa, I still think that's going to be so dope to see. Also with the introduction of Michael Afton, his son now, that's definitely where we're getting to some very, very good stuff. At the end of the post-credits scene, after the credits roll again, we hear an audio of William Afton's business partner trying to warn Mike about how to handle Marionette before he is seemingly attacked. So I do wonder that if in Five Nights at Freddy 3 we will be getting more of the backstory and lore to Freddy Fazbear's, which could be interesting to see, because I thought when they went back to the 80s here, that was the coolest part of the whole movie. So I'm excited to see them go back in time even more and showcase this whole thing. William Afton, of course, is such an interesting character, and the way they portrayed him here for the moments and minutes he was in definitely gets me hyped to see him like take center stage in the third film. So we'll see. Basically, this whole movie revolved around Vanessa never being able to recover from her trauma, bottling all of that up for what happened to Charlotte back in '82, also her father being a child killer, and knowing this whole guilt was eating her up, it would eventually come back up and resurface as Marionette was let out of the box, trying to get her revenge on all of the parents. But of course, this was all being led by her own brother, Michael Afton, who was just instigating because he also wanted revenge for what happened to their father. So very, very interesting stuff here. Sets it up really great for the next film because it just ends on a huge cliffhanger. Vanessa being possessed by Marionette, Mike and Abby clueless to all of this, and Springtrap coming back to life to seek his revenge on Mike as well. So we're definitely excited to see where this is going. I do have a theory video I'll be posting, so stay tuned for that. Hit the subscribe button so you don't miss out on it. Let me know your thoughts and opinions on the ending, and if you're excited for Five Nights at Freddy 3 in the comments below. But as always, that's going to do it for me. I'll see all of you next time. Stay safe, stay positive.